Live reports on Southwest Washington High School football come from reporter Bryan Levesque. Check out GSHLFootball.com for more. The Fan postgame scoreboard show continues on ESPN Sports Radio 1080 The Fan.
10:32 here in our 1080 The Fan studios, taking you up to 11 o'clock. Trying to get all the scores in we can for you in the area. And for Southwest Washington, we go to our man, GSHLFootball.com's Bryan Levesque. You got to be a part of a big, giant party out at new Doc Harris Stadium with the Camas Papermakers. Is anything going to stop them in Southwest Washington this year?
As you're looking right now, like it's going to be tough for anybody to stop them before they get at least a couple rounds into the playoffs. I mean, Camas has never won a playoff game, so their goal obviously is just to do that. But yeah, tonight, big night in brand new stadium, new 4,000-seat Doc Harris Stadium. They demolished the old one that was built back in the 50s. They got new home stands, new road stands, new track, new turf. The only thing they didn't have was a new scoreboard, and the old scoreboard didn't work most of the night. But other than that, as John Eagle, the head coach of Camas, put it, that I know it's kind of corny, but it was really a magical night for the city of Camas. Basically, this summer, talked with Prairie coach Terry Hyde, and he told me he had one request for his athletic director this winter: do not schedule me Camas week 3 of a league game. He didn't want to run into that buzzsaw, and that was definitely a buzzsaw tonight. Camas jumped on the board early. Their first possession, they took a 8-play 75-yard drive in 6 minutes, capped off the Logan Grindy with a 1-yard touchdown run with a quick 7-0 lead. Columbia River, though, stood tall, took that punch, went right down the field on their own 2-minute 80-yard drive, and ended up a 25-yard run by Remick Kawawaki, who had a 38-yard run before the 25-yard touchdown run. The extra point was blocked, left it 7-6. Unfortunately, that's pretty much the end of the highlights for Columbia River on the night. Camas Zach Marshall, our Week 1 Player of the Week, who scored 3 touchdowns in each of the first 2 weeks, decides, heck, I'm going to run the kickoff back for a touchdown, try something different. He goes 96 yards for a 13-6 lead. Camas missed that. Following a fumble by Columbia River, Camas again 5 plays later, they went 27 yards. Zach Marshall actually running into the end zone, got popped pretty hard. He fumbled the football. And it was Miguel Salamakia landed on it in the end zone for the touchdown. They went for 2. Logan Grindy hit Kaika Gunderson. 10 minutes to go in the first quarter, 21-6 Papermakers. They weren't done then in the first half as they go down and they get another touchdown following. There was a bad punt over Rivers' head, set him up on the 39. 5 plays later, Logan Grindy hits, who is that here? Sorry about that. Kyle Irv is tied in on a 22-yard touchdown run for a 28-6 lead, and then they've ended up scoring one more touchdown following a punt from a punt that Columbia River muffed a punt. Camas picked it up at the 14. 2 plays later, they were in the end zone as Salamakia this time caught the touchdown from Logan Grindy, 35-6. That was the halftime score. Had a pretty long halftime. They introduced some Hall of Fame people for the Camas Hall of Fame. The band played and just basically thanked all the people that helped build the new stadium. Camas then comes out to start the second half. 4 plays. They go 65 yards. Zach Marshall, again, not 3 rushing touchdowns, but he gets 1 rushing touchdown. This one, 47 yards. That's the one I'd mentioned when he came to me at halftime. Put him up 42-6, and then it was basically a punch fest the rest of the night. River did get the ball. Took over at the 8-yard line with about a minute to go. Ended up not scoring. So final score out here tonight, Camas 42-6 for the Papermakers. Now 2-0 in league, 3-0 overall.
That impressive performance. Now, if there's one team at the 3A level that's got a shot at him, am I right in guessing that's Kelso? They're 3-0. They've only given up 9 points in those 3 games. The Highlanders have a shot, or is that more a function of their schedule so far?
I hate to say it's their schedule. It's not their schedule that they're 3-0, but yeah, I mean it's hard to say anybody has a shot. I mean they were 25-0 over Hudson's Bay. They picked up, Bay fumbled the ball a few times. Kelso took advantage of that. By week 9, I don't know. I mean if Camas gets a couple injuries and Mikado Mobbs, the quarterback for Kelso, continues to develop. He's a senior, but it's his first year as a starting quarterback. If he continues to develop, maybe. But right now, I say no shot. I said the only team that has a shot is Skyview next week.
Well, Skyview almost got themselves into trouble tonight. They had to go to overtime. What's going on there?
Yeah, that actually a shocker. I mean, we thought Columbia River here probably had a better chance against Camas with the way Heritage is reeling, but Camas or Skyview, they last year they had Austin Dodge, who was the co-offensive player of the year along with Garrett Grayson, and Dodge ended up playing in the All-State game, was the MVP, helping the East team, that our teams play for the East because of Seattle, but they won that one. But they got Cody Watts and Kieran McDonough taking over, and they're kind of flipping back and forth, and they're just off here and there, just slightly stuff that Dodge last year just didn't hit. But yeah, this year, I mean, tonight they jumped up 13-0 when Ellis Henderson returned. There was a bad snap on a punt. They got the punt off. He took it back 53 yards. So it was 13-0 early, but Heritage wouldn't go away. Riley Odell hit Michael Rivera on a 5-yard touchdown to cap an 80-yard drive, make it 13-7 at the half. And then later in the game, Skyview, Riley Henderson, the younger brother of Ellis Henderson, took a 66-yard catch and run from Cody Watts for a touchdown late in the game to go up 21-14. Heritage struck right back 2 plays later when Riley Odell hit Ben Lyons on an 80-yard catch and run to tie it at 21, then put it into overtime. And Skyview got the ball first. Parker Henry was last week our player's game, had 161 yards rushing in their win against Coeur d'Alene. First play, 25-yard touchdown. Turned the ball over. Heritage gets it. Again, so these guys did great last week. Mo Morrison ended up having 2 interceptions on the last 2 Coeur d'Alene drives last week. First snap, he gets the interception of Odell in overtime. So they ended up pulling out the win 28-21. A little shocking to say, but, credit Heritage. They're not going to fold, and Skyview's definitely got the talent. It's just they got a lot of guys they're replacing, and it's not easy to play up to that high level when you're having to replace your quarterback, your linebackers, half your offensive line. They have the talent to hang with Camas next week, but they cannot play the way that they've played in the first half the last 3 weeks if they want to win out here next week.
That'll be a fun one next week, and I'm sure you'll have it. Union put on a show in the second half. Zach Browning, 3 rushing touchdowns, and pulled away from Westview late. So the Titans getting a little confidence going in. Quickly, any other scores of note tonight from the Greater St. Helens League?
Richland out of Tri-Cities came down here and beat Evergreen 34-14. Actually, a note there, the Columbian, our paper in town, didn't send a reporter to McKenzie for an Evergreen game. We think maybe for the first time ever. I mean, that's kind of the low point that Evergreen's at right now, unfortunately. Fort Vancouver was down early to Washougal, but they won on the road 31-14. We got the Kelso score. Mountain View came from behind. They were trailing Prairie on the road 12-7. They ended up winning 20-12 in a league game for both of those guys. R.A. Long took on Rainier of Oregon up there. They're just across the bridge up there in Longview. They ended up winning that one 20-2 in the pouring rain. It's pouring rain everywhere, I'm sure. And Tacoma Baptist, a 2B school, which would be the equivalent of your 2A school here, beat Hawkinson at Hawkinson 23-0, and Hawkinson a 2A, the equivalent of your 4A, I guess. So Hawkinson's young, struggling there. They're over on the season. That's pretty much what happened up here.
All righty. We appreciate it as always. There'll be video up from the games, video from last night's Wild One Battleground winning in double overtime at Woodland. Great job there. GSHLFootball.com. And I'm assuming next week we'll talk to you from Skyview and Camas.
Yeah, we'll be out here again. Definitely, that's going to be the big game. The other game with the 3-0s is the Kelso Union, and I feel like that one's unfortunately maybe looked at as it's going to be a great game. You guys heard what Union did tonight, and I think Kelso going to be running into a buzzsaw with the Titans. But we'll be out here next week. Looking forward to that game. So, Bryan Levesque at the new Dockheader Stadium, GSHLFootball.com, reporting for ESPN Sports Radio, 1080 The Fan on the By Mart Game of the Week.
All righty. Thank you very much, Brian.